welcome to episode 24 of the IP3 podcast. I am joined this week by Alex Becker, and we've got plenty to talk about. The World Championship in Osaka just happened this past weekend, and it was pretty epic. The coverage games were fantastic. Um, Found out about the Fab World Tour. We found out about a newly instituted Player of the Year prize pool that's going to exist. Uh, and possibly most importantly, found out about Flesh and Blood's next newest set, The Hunted, which is going to be returning us to Volcor. And we're going to see some ninja, assassin, warrior action coming down the pipe. But talk more specifically about that in a minute, but in more localized news, I finally won a ProQuest. I did it. We're going to London, baby. I was paranoid that it wasn't going to happen, which was going to sting after being so close twice, but finally got there.
And I completed the clean sweep. Every ProQuest I played in, I got top 8. And
That's
this time with Dorinthia Ironsong. Taking it back, the OG
some
4-1
WTR
in
action.
Swiss. Yeah. Turns
4-1 in
out
Swiss, very nice.
when you like play Acilio and Aurora and other decks that don't block very well or run defense reactions, Dorinthia stacks up counters pretty quick and the games end pretty quick.
Yeah. Cumulative value, like that's pretty good. Just ask count your blessings. World
Oh no.
champion, count your blessings. Other announcements before we get into the actual world's breakdown. Um, the well, I guess it didn't officially have a name before, but Flesh and Blood Organized Play is going to get a little bit of a rebrand under the new title of the Fab World Tour, which just encompasses everything you would already imagine. You know, all the way from all the Battle Hardens and ProQuest Plus type events, all the way up through the World Championship. Um, the no structural changes there that we're aware of, but they did announce the beginning of a Player of the Year system and award and prize pool. So, Player of the Year is going to utilize some sort of point system based off of people's finishes, at all of those various levels of events. It's not going to work off of Elo, or I'm assuming Elo is not really going to be involved in that because Elo is a little too volatile of a system for that, I think. Um, but they did say that it would be pretty weighted towards Pro Tour and Worlds and Nats performances, which is good because the one of the first like comments or something I saw when they announced it was they're like, "Oh, cool, more prize money just to hand to Brody Spurlock," which on the one hand is a little funny because he's a globe-trotting ace at Flesh and Blood, but realistically, they sort of made it sound like battle-hardened performances are probably more likely to act as tiebreakers depending on the other
Yeah,
larger, more weighted events.
you could probably look at it the other way around. Be like, how did you do at Worlds? Okay, how did you do at the other Pro Tours? Okay, how did you do at Nats? Okay, we've got a tie. How did you do it Battle Hard that you went to?
Yep. I think it's cool. It's a cool thing to have start up. In year 5, we're definitely sort of opening a new chapter of sorts. But it's cool that they feel comfortable just throwing out. You know, the prize pool for next year is going to remain the same at 1.5 million. So you can expect very similar Pro Tour, Nats, Worlds, calling type payouts. But the fact that they're like awesome, and here's another 100K for your Player of the Year system. They also said something that they didn't go into detail on it, and I know we'll get more detail on it at some point. But that the there was both like a regional and global aspect to it. So I don't think it's just a awesome. The single global player of the year gets $100,000. It's not quite so cut and dry. Um, there it might be like a you know what so Worlds rotates between uh, North America, Europe, and APAC, and they might I'd imagine there's like a okay cool well 20K for each of the regional players of the year, and then an extra 40 or something for whoever is the global player of the year. But uh, something like that. I don't think it's just 100K for one person. Like it could be. I just suspect it'll be a little more granular than that.
Makes sense to me.
The
They probably won't go down specific enough to be like per country. I guess they
Yeah, I
probably
don't
won't
think
do
so.
that.
I would imagine not, but we'll see. We'll get more information on it. But they did the one big piece of information is that it starts uh, soon slash now. I think basically like post Worlds,
Next weekend.
it's
It's
the
the
race is
Battle
officially
Hardened
underway.
Hiroshima. I think
Hmm.
the first event that counts for it is Battle Hardened Hiroshima. So
That sounds right.
is
I
that
think the most intriguing part of this to me um, is the instantiation of a point system. I know that we've talked. I mean, sure, I know we've talked off of here, but I think we've also at some point talked on here about alternative ways to handle invites for the Pro Tour, or have something to work towards as a competitor that isn't quite as fickle as the Elo system tends to be. Um, and this sort of point system uh, kind of brings me back to you know the heyday of competitive Magic, where there was a pro players system that certain performance thresholds yielded at like Grand Prix, which is calling level events and up, you could win pro points, and at certain thresholds of pro points in either like a quarter of a year or throughout an entire year, you could achieve like silver, gold, platinum pro status, and those came with different things depending on the level. And like the platinum pro status was you're qualified for the next 4 pro tours. Basically it just like queued you up all at once, which is pretty sweet. Um, and while I don't think Fab's ever going to put something in place that was quite that player friendly, which like at that point there was a point where platinum pros got like just straight up appearance fees for showing up at calling type events and everything like that. I don't think Fab's ever gonna go quite that deep with it, but it would be nice if there was a point system strict if it was just strictly qualifications, right? Like, awesome, you had a killer 2024. You got you top aided you know top aided a calling. You got top 16 and a top 64 at the Pro Tour, and also had a respectable run at Worlds that like you could accrue this like point threshold, and then like, great, you had a great year. You're obviously a very talented player, and your reward for that for this year is that you're in next year, 2 Pro Tours and Worlds. You're invited by default. I think that'd be a really cool thing to see happen in some way, shape, or form. And maybe it's not the whole year. Maybe it's just whatever the next one is. But it'd be really nice to see something like that make its way to Fab.
yeah. That's a bit higher level, but I'm just gonna bring this back to what we definitely have talked about before on this. That I still think that like qualifying for Pro Tours and ProQuest and Road to Nationals should be more than just first place. Because like while I did win a ProQuest, I top aided every one that I went to. So if I hadn't won that one, it would feel pretty bad to have top aided all the events that I went to and like top four and finals, and then not like have anything to show for it if I hadn't won one.
Yeah,
So
I I did that for a season when I played Phi, when it was like Phi Oldham Dromai, the CC format. I think I top aided was either like 6 out of 7 or 7 out of 8 pro quests that I went to, and just was never able to convert. I died in the quarters of the semis every time, and just I had some cool hero cards I think, but nothing to show for it. And the yeah, some sort of partial invite system like that would also be very nice to see.
Well, and it's already. Well, I feel like we're rehashing this, but I feel maybe it's been long enough that we can talk about it again. Like the system is already there. Like top 8 gets you a copper, top 4 gets you a silver, or maybe finals gets you a silver, and then winning gets you a gold, and then like gold is just you're invited, 2 silvers you're invited, and then 4 coppers and you're invited.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you said top 8 for copper initially, but I think like I don't know the top 4 finals and first place. I think just kind of it just fits. The system's already there, and it lets you be rewarded for, oh, okay, well, you know I didn't win one this time, but I made top 4 times. Like, how is that not still worth awarding in some way?
Yeah.
More Jarl spoilers? Nope, not this weekend. Uh, we ended up getting a lot more. Actually, we were commenting earlier, quite a few cards from the Hunted, but no new Jarl Armory Deck Origins updates. So sit tight because you got to wait a little bit longer for those.
It comes out in
But
like 20 days, right? Something like that.
oh yeah, true. It is November, so yeah, it'll be out by the end of the month. Surprise! Yeah,
Ice is back.
Ice is back. You know what else is back? Daggers. The Hunted is the dagger set. That was the. I think that was actually a very interesting uh, early note from the keynote when they mentioned the Hunted and they talked about the concepting and of the set and where it came from. And it sounds like the basis of the set was them trying to make oh, what's the little dagger from Dynasty? Quicksilver dagger?
Quicksilver dagger.
Yeah. So it sounded like they started at Quicksilver dagger and then ended with a set that is 3 different dagger wielding classes set in Volcor. Because obviously the fact that we're going to Volcor and not getting a new Dromai when Dromai's been gone for a little while now is a little bit like feels head scratchy, but if you
We
approach
don't
it
know that.
as
We don't know that she doesn't exist yet. There's still
that's
that
true,
4th Blitz hero deck that we don't know what it is.
that's fair. Hmm,
I seems
I'm
heavily
skeptical.
doubtful,
I'm
but
I'm skeptical, but it could be maybe it's an updated Phi Blitz deck, or maybe they put maybe they put Dromai in as some sort of Marvel in this set. That's very possible too.
they did
Um,
Briar. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and then also honestly, it'd be kind of a cool inclusion if you're like, cool. Well, here's well, no, I guess they would need a new version. If they put like a new version of Dromai in the expansion slot in this set, that would be pretty neat. But it feels more likely that she'd make it to a main set or an Origins deck.
Yep.
But all right,
So with
oh,
the dagger set, buy your stab wounds and that all you got's now while they're
yeah,
cheap.
stab wound. That all you got. Um, there was another one from Outsiders that was a blue 3 black 0 cost that buffed all your daggers by 1 for the turn.
Knives out.
Knives Out. And then another, at the time, meme worthy bad card, Silverwind Shuriken. It was a blue non block like item that let you attack react to give your daggers +1, I think. Um, I don't remember if it was for the turn. I'm gonna
I
find
think
it.
it's just I think it was just breaking scales on an item. I think it was just any attack. I don't know if it had to be dagger.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. I was thinking because it has Shuriken in the art. I was assuming it was dagger related, but it's not. Ignore that. You don't need to buy Silverwind Shuriken. Card's still bad for now. For now. Uh, Yeah, knives out, stab wound, good stuff. Um, so we have three different dagger wielding heroes. We do not have any hero text for two of them, but we do have. It's not quite confirmed to be the hero in the set because the only version we have is a promo version. But we've got Arakni slipped through the cracks in the set as a chaos assassin hero. 4 intellect, 38 health. So it's basic, and the text is that of Arakni solitary confinement. Almost. It's not
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 exactly.
quite, not exactly. Uh, so Arachne Slip Through the Cracks says the first attack with stealth each turn gets go again. Very, very worth noting that card does not say your first attack with stealth each turn has go again. It says the first attack with stealth gets go again. So if this Arachne uh, is in an assassin mirror, it sure sounds like the opposing assassin's stealth attacks will also be getting go again on their own turns, which is very interesting. Uh, and honestly, I have a couple different thoughts on the chaos talent because we don't know anything other than it exists at this point. So I'm not sure if it's the fact that chaos means okay, cool, this is a slight retemplate of an existing thing, right? Like, is the chaos bit of this assassin hero the fact that they give the first
Your
attack
opponent
for
action points
everyone?
as well.
Yeah, like I'm not sure if that's the chaos aspect or if there's going to be other implications of it because in addition to this crazy art Arachne slip through the cracks that we got, there's also Oops All Arachne, which is like six different Arachne heroes that all have drastically different art and different names, right? So the OG adult Arachne was Arachne Huntsman. Uh, and you can find it probably pretty easily in any of the discords that have the spoiler subscription. But there's six different Arachne heroes that all look really epic. But there's Arachne Black Widow, Redback, Tarantula, Funnelweb, Orb Weaver, and Trapdoor.
Notably, all names of spiders.
All names of spiders. So yes, this is not the set for arachnophobes. Yes, he would hate it. My wife is very arachnophobic. Uh, but only for like real spiders. The art for this stuff wouldn't bother her. But yeah, so each of those Arachne variants underneath the so we've only seen the Marvel side, so we don't actually really know anything about what those cards do or how exactly how they operate. But under the name for each, it says Agent of Chaos, and then under that we have like a type line, right? Like you would normally expect either like Chaos Assassin Hero or something. But that is blurred enough that it's not entirely clear what it says. Uh, leading uh, leading educated guesses is it says like Chaos Phantom Evo something or other. I'm not quite sure what the last word is at all because lengthwise it doesn't look right to be like assassin or hero. But yeah, like these could potentially either be like cards that go in your deck, or they could be uh, Levia redeemed type cards that live in your sideboard. And when you start the game, you can choose different forms to enter the game as. It could be something even completely different, where because the chaos
It could be,
talent.
well, like you just said, like the Arachne slip through the cracks, Chaos Assassin hero. The part of chaos of that could be like that's the hero you reveal in like when you start a game procedures, you're showing heroes, and then when you flip up equipment and like present your deck, then you reveal which version of the Chaos Arachne you are playing.
That
Interesting.
it feels like it makes a lot of sense. I still story wise and thematically, I'm interested to see if Arachne has multiple physical forms, or if the different Arachnes are separate individuals that are all part of like the Arachne like hunter cohort or like assassin cohort or something like that. That'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. But yeah, I don't know. The art on those cards is unbelievable. I hope you have your cool assassin stuff already, because gosh dang it,
It was
Brian
expensive
Gottlieb is gonna
before, and it's
make
not going down.
because Brian Gottlieb is gonna make Arachne playable, or so it seems, or so we would hope. So get ready to pick up the top card of your library quite a bit more. Now, I think that's the other big question too: is Huntsman somehow going to be playable or involved in this new conglomerate of heroes, or are they going to exist outside of the chaos assassin hero version of things? Right? Are we getting Arachne 2 before before getting a playable Arachne 1? Unclear.
See, see if any. Does Arachne have any LL points? Like five,
I
maybe?
think so, but not many. I would assume they do, just on sheer
But
amount of time they've existed. Arachne
more.
has Arachne Huntsman has 13 living legend points. There actually
Oh, that's
isn't
number.
an adult hero without points at this point. Olympia has 7, Betsy has 4. That's the bottom. But everyone has at least some.
Much more interesting to me is the Royal Draconic Warrior Hero, Fang Drakai of Blades. Which I was talking to Kevin earlier. The hero art seems a little vanilla to me. Like it's cool. I don't know. I just like the other one better. The ninja better. But um, seems like we're gonna get a warrior all based around daggers, which would be cool. I get to bring back slice and dice.
Yeah, Slice and Dice will be super fun to play this warrior. I'm very interested to see uh, if Fang gets new like actual draconic daggers, or if what we end up with is just Quicksilver dagger again, right? Because that was sort of the call out for when they were designing this. Like one of the early threads that they wanted to explore more was, can we make these warrior daggers kind of worth or do anything? And so I wonder if it'll just be, maybe Quicksilver dagger with some different, more regionally appropriate art, and then um, you sort of have to work to make them draconic. Because
Would
that's
be very
good.
sorry. Would be very interesting to me is if we get Draconic Warrior attack actions, because almost all of the reactions and buffs in heavy hitters say your warrior attacks, not weapons. So, like, you could buff a draconic warrior attack action with like an agile engagement or something. So it's interesting to me. And then you've got an agility for the next turn, so you can dagger. And then since the first Quicksilver gain to go again, then you can swing the second Quicksilver and then end on like another attack or something, and then reload your Dynamo. So it's like
Oh,
very very interesting to me.
another already pricey card that you should get before it gets more pricey. Because turns out if you have daggers, you tend to want to swing at least twice a turn. So yeah, Valiant Dynamo. Get them while getting's
Do you
good.
think to I can't remember where I heard this, but it's getting reprinted Dynamo, or maybe just in Japan packs,
I think it. Yeah. So
or
there's the. Are they called archive packs or something? It's when they're printing the Fab in Japanese for the first time. There's like bonus legendaries and stuff that can be in there. I think it's one of those. Or at least if it's genuinely being reprinted in the set, I don't think they have formally announced that.
no? I think it was a like a catch up Japan thing. But there'll just be more of them that exist. And also, Monarch boxes are like dirt cheap, so
Yeah, fair.
you could probably try to play the lottery and end up ahead.
Yeah, don't disagree. But Fang, unfortunately, we don't have anything other than Fang's type line uh, of Royal Draconic Warrior. Don't know the health, don't know the ability. But there are some cards to look at, which we'll talk about in a minute, that you can sort of use some context clues to see what the set is going to be about. Um, but before we jump into those, the other hero, the third hero of the set, is Syndra, Drakai of Retribution. Is a Royal Draconic Ninja hero, and ooh, Nelly, we're gonna be slinging some daggers with this hero. Uh, for any League of Legends enthusiasts out there, very Irelia-ish art with like a bunch of like floating blades around her. Um,
Sorry, looks sick.
the vibe I get looking at the art is I'm gonna like make token daggers that I can like throw via destroying via various effects.
Or, yeah, like ephemeral daggers instead of
Yep.
uh, tigers. Yep.
Yeah. I think it'll be. It makes sense. It seems like it fits fine, and um, it's the kind of thing that you think death by a thousand paper cuts. Well, this is going to be a deck that they're not going to go traditionally wide, but you still might get hit for 18 in a turn. Although no better card to exist against this deck than this round's on me or dense blue mist. Oh no, all your attacks are 0. Shucks. Or frailty tokens? Holy crap, frailty tokens against this entire set is busted. Uh,
Codex of Frailty just got better. Who would have thought?
good. Its playability was sorely lacking. Uh,
Yeah.
but what we don't have in this set so far is frailty. What we do have is fealty, which
What a transition.
fealty is we got a fancy promo version of this card or Marvel version of it, but it is a draconic token aura that says instant destroy this. The next card you play this turn is draconic. At the beginning of your end phase, if you haven't created a fealty token or played a draconic card this turn, destroy this. Um,
It's just a way to turn your attacks into draconic attacks.
yep,
So, for example, we're talking about Fangin. If he has Quicksilver daggers, then you could turn those into draconic attacks, which then can matter for various things. And um, same thing with Syndra. If they're not already draconic daggers, we already know that a ton of the draconic cards care about draconic chain links. So using the fealty token to turn an attack into draconic, so that way your um, next attack is buffed for your previous attack being draconic. Probably what it's for, if I had to guess.
yep, yeah. It's brand with Cinderclaw adjacent.
The token.
Just that isn't, that's not class bound. I think it's interesting the templating on this. It might just be because it's the Marvel, but the templating on it is very strange because the way it reads, it looks like at the beginning of your end phase, if you haven't created a fealty or played a draconic card, destroy this. It looks like that's part of the ability, but you will have already destroyed it to use the ability to turn something draconic. And I think they just like didn't put it on a new line, and they should have to show that it's like two separate things. Weird. Whatever. Uh,
We'll find out. We'll find out in the release notes.
yeah. I did see someone on Blue Sky who was like, okay, so clearly we have to be getting a Codex of Fealty, right? If we have Codex of Frailty, which
my,
I
my dyslexia does not like this because I've like read it as frailty too many times already. I the L and the T being right next to each other and like the font of the A makes my brain think that there's an I there, and I play too much
mm,
Riptide. So yeah,
Frailty on the brain at all. Um,
yeah.
so Draconic chain links are going to matter. Again, we haven't seen exactly to what degree they will matter, but they will. Sounds like they will be a motif for both of the Draconic heroes, at least with what we have so far, spoiler wise. The other interesting new token or marker, I guess it's not a token. It's literally just a marker. It's a label, right? It's like the word keyword stealth on an attack action, except this new mechanic is being marked, which is what happens when Mark Morrison beats you up. Uh, no, so a marked marker. It's not a token. It doesn't, or I guess it might technically be a token, but it's literally you are marked until an opponent hits you. That's what it is. It's a temporary label. Um,
But
and
Kevin, what do I do after I mark the opponent?
well, you see, I'm glad that you asked. There are cards in the set that uh, care if you are attacking a marked hero. Um, so first off, there's a card called Proclaim Vengeance, and it's a Draconic instant. It says mark target opposing hero. If that hero is Arakni, gain a resource. Uh, so the whole shtick of the story for this one is that the Drakai are trying to hunt down Arakni because Arakni killed the Emperor, as y'all might remember from the Pro Tour Leal reveal of Regicide. Um, and so there's a lot of specific hunting mechanics to the set, it would seem. And Marked is sort of a way to do that in-game mechanics. Um, but there's a cycle of Draconic cards, Draconic attack actions, for the Drakai, for the Emperor, and for the Realm. And those are uh, clones of Critical Strike, Brutal Assault, and uh, what's the
Wooden
zero
blow.
for four? Wounding Blow? Wounding Blow, yes. Wounding Blow, Critical Strike, and Brutal Assault, aka they are 0 for 4, 1 for 5, and 2 for 6, 3 block cards, attack actions. Except they're all Draconic typed, and they each have the text that says, when this attacks a marked hero, create a fealty token. So, they are rewarding you for marking and attacking your marked prey by giving you a fealty token that will let you turn an attack into a Draconic attack, which presumably there will be other incentives or payoffs for having Draconic attacks. So we've got a multi-part synergy going on here, which is pretty cool.
And notably, it says when it attacks a marked hero, and you stay marked until your opponent hits you. So if I play for the Drakai 0 for 4, I get the fealty token, and then if Kevin blocks it all out, then he remains marked, and I get the fealty token. So my next thing that is looking for marked, you will still be marked. So you kind of like incentivize to let it hit a little bit so that you become unmarked.
Yeah, that is interesting. So and if you ever get in a situation where your opponent's at 1, so obviously life gain flies in the face of this a little bit, but if you ever mark an opponent who's at 1 and does not have access to life gain, they'll just be marked for the rest of the game or they'll die, which means they'll be marked for the rest of the game. Interesting. Yeah, there's some cool mechanics and tension at play here. But all right, let's run through some of the cards real quick, and then we can get on to our main topic of the world's results. Um, so we got shown a lot of spoilers. There's a lot of promos. There's like 8 different unique promos that will be at the world premiere in Prague in January. So the first two we think are both Majestics. There's a warrior attack reaction called Jagged Edge, which warriors will be so happy. You now, and more importantly, you class warriors that aren't just specifically Dawnblade Dory now have access to some anti-prevention tech. Jagged Edge is a 3-block attack reaction that says costs 1, pitches for red, and it says target weapon attack gets +3, and damage this would deal can't be prevented. Eat your heart out, Enigma.
This is
uh,
this is going in almost every warrior deck.
yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
honestly, it's just
Not
overdue. It's nice that it's here, but it's a little overdue. But
yeah.
won't look a gift horse in the mouth. It's going to be very playable.
It it's great as it is, just a 1 for 3 attack reaction that your opponent doesn't need to have blocked from hand or do any craziness. But then you just tack the text of can't damage can't be prevented. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's big game, and that's the kind of like not overly heavy-handed tech that I like to see, and what I'm hoping to see for warriors when the mastery set comes out and that sort of thing. Like tools that help chip away at the overwhelming disadvantage you have in a given matchup that don't just say, "Nah, just kidding, fuck illusionists." like,
Yeah, it's not a silver bullet. I find this card in my deck and I win the game, but it's definitely warrior. It's blowout potential. When your Enigma opponent is like, oh, I've got all these spectral shields. I'm just gonna block this downblade a little bit and then let it take one of the shields, and then I'll be good. I'll be able to like cover the next attack if there's a twin blade or something or whatever. Um, and then Jagged Edge says, no, I'm gonna hit you and go again anyways.
yeah,
Right. I'm
very
far too
solid.
excited for that card after after playing Dory for 2 weeks now.
Yeah, yeah, I've seemed like a good place to start. Um, and then along with the jagged edges, we have a series of stance cards. There's flurry stance, agility stance, and power stance. I'm assuming these are probably a rare cycle. Um, flurry pitches for red, agility pitches for yellow, power stance pitches for blue. And flurry stance says, at the start of your turn, destroy this. You may attack with each dagger you control an additional time this turn. And each of these are 3-block aura warrior auras, and they all have go again. So you set this up um, the prior turn, but it only costs you the card. It doesn't cost you resources, doesn't expend your action point. This is a the other funny meme I've seen about this is blood on her hands, just being like, look what they need to mimic a fraction of our power, because the
True.
modes on these will look very familiar. So flurry stance lets you attack with each dagger an additional time this turn. Could be super duper potent if we have like ephemeral daggers being created and stuff too. Um, it's possible that those will work in such a way that this can't apply to them, but it's also not inconceivable that it could just
Probably
work.
not. I think the ephemeral daggers, if they exist, would be just in the ninja class.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah, fair
Where
point.
like this will be potent if Fang is running Quicksilver Dagger, because as soon as the first one gains go again, they all have go again, so you can just like attack a bunch of times because you don't have to give each one go again. Um, just well,
Yeah,
so you can just attack a bunch of times. But when you need to give them go again, you have Agility Stance, which at the start of your turn destroy this, and your dagger attacks get go again this turn. So
yep, and
that's
gives
another
it
option.
to all of them. So if there's maybe there's like maybe Quicksilver dagger is like the token dagger, but then there's a majestic one or something. So could end up right in like CC that you run 1-on-1, and so agility stance you know can give the non Quicksilver dagger go again, but it also gives your Quicksilver dagger go again at the same time, which is nice. So
Mm-hmm.
very interested to see the rest of the dagger cards for warrior.
And then there's Power Stance, that is a same templating, but at the destroy it and your dagger attacks get +1 this turn.
Yep. It's Warriors Knives Out, except with a turn delay is basically the difference. It's an aura instead of this turn. But
Yep.
but
Which is good and bad.
sometimes that's better, right? Like you want to be like, okay, cool, I'll block
Yeah.
out. I'll set up a
It,
power stance. I'll arsenal a card,
it's
pass, and
it's telegraph, but it's a card that you didn't spend this turn. So like you can play this and then go into your next turn with 5 cards, knowing that all your daggers have +1.
yeah. And like they did a cycle of blessings in one of the was it Dynasty?
Yes.
Dynasty had
All
the
the all,
blessings.
all the blessings for Dynasty.
Yeah.
But the
So
problem, well, the problem with them was they, for Warriors example, it was Blessing of Steel, cost 1, does not have go again, and it's an aura, and just your next weapon attack is +3, 2/1, red, yellow,
yeah.
blue. Just not
It
good
was
enough.
too weak on two fronts. It needed to cost 0 or have go again, possibly just both, but it needed at least one of those things to be true. And yeah, it was just a without either of them, it just ended up utterly unplayable. But yeah, it's nice that
Yeah.
you know Warrior potentially gets to obviously Warrior can have some explosive turns, but something we've seen is that Warriors on average don't have the explosive potential of like a Rune Blade or some of the combo heavier ninjas. Um, and maybe some good auras like this can help that not quite be the case, and they can fight back for some similarly explosive turns of their own.
Warfare is the mid-range class where all the cards just block for 3, but they tend to not have like as high a spike turns as other classes that have a bunch of block twos. So good with the bad.
Yeah, fair. Uh, all right, our next batch are a series of ninja attack action cards that are all Art of the Dragon something. There's Art of the Dragon Blood, Claw, Fire, and Scale. Um, Art of the Dragon Blood is a majestic. It's a 0 for 4, 3 block. Says when this attacks, if it's Draconic, it gets go again, and the next 3 Draconic cards you play this turn cost 1 resource less to play. So it's got the Blood of the Drakai um, gem effect. Although that might have been the next 4 things you play, I forget. But similar callback. Or no, I think it was just 3 because it was always like, oh, cool. At its best, this is a red that pitches for 4. Um, but this
Yeah.
is just a much more potentially useful iteration of this because there's some really strong 1 for 4s in the Draconic Ninja class.
Um, yes. This is a reason that you want a fealty token so that you can pop it and turn this draconic, because potentially you could play Art of the Dragon Blood in Ira because it's just a ninja attack action.
Assuming you
But
can
if
create
you're playing it,
fealty from generics or generic ninja cards.
no, I'm saying like you can play Art of the Dragon Blood in an Ira deck, but if you are playing it in a draconic ninja
Mm,
deck, you'll have access to fealty tokens, which then like turns on the ability. So in Ira, it's just a 0 for 4 block 3.
right.
But
It's just
in
cooler looking wounding blow.
yeah, um, uh, but in a draconic ninja, it becomes a 0 for 4 go again, like discount 3 resources
Yeah.
for your next things.
Well, and the next things are all clearly meant to combo off of it pretty nicely. Um, so Art of the Dragon Claw, these are all critical strike variants, so they're all 1 for 5 ninja attack actions. But they all say when this attacks, if it's draconic, this gets some extra effect. So Claw is if it's draconic, this gets when this hits a hero, destroy all cards in their arsenal. So we've got another what was the original version of this? Uh,
Breaking point.
Breaking point. Um, was this with a rupture effect instead, but this cares about the draconic typing. But that's 6 different draconic 1 for 5 arsenal hate effects now that class and combo has access to. Um, Art of the Dragon Fire says if when this attacks, if it is draconic, deal 2 damage to any target. Um, so 1 for 7, anyone? That sounds pretty good. We play those. Chase the
Yeah.
Tail's a pretty real card. And then
Or if you need to deal with the new Dromai that's coming out, right?
yeah, maybe.
No, okay,
No,
maybe.
honestly, that was on the short,
Probably.
the most embarrassing card on my short list of oh my gosh, if Enigma is just truly a super busted problem, what do I do? I had a Phi list that had oh, Searing Touch. It's a 1 for 3 that ruptures to just deal 2 to something. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. This is untyped damage. This means I'm like getting to attack for my damage and killing a ward thing. We were digging real deep in the barrel there. So Art of Dragon Fire seems like a pretty solid upgrade to that, if nothing else. And then the last one, which is a lot harder to read the way the extended art goes over the card, says when this attacks, if it is draconic, it gets when this hits a hero, put a -1 counter on an equipment they control.
Control.
Then if it
If it
has
has zero,
0 defense
destroy
or
it.
less, or yeah, then if it has 0, destroy it. Which and in Fab, negative numbers are 0 for the purposes of effects like this. So if you somehow, if you're Jarl and you play like 3 of the things, and you're like, haha, your stupid Phantasmal Footsteps has a -3. That's still effectively a 0 for the purposes of this sort of effect. Um,
This is just the liquefy, like attack reaction
hmm.
effect. So
Liquefy on
seems
an
seems
attack.
real good.
Yeah,
If
I mean,
if you're gonna have access to fealty tokens a lot, then this seems like a fantastic chain ender that
yeah,
people will need to block or lose their equipment.
yep. And then the last sort of almost cycle. So we mentioned Proclaim Vengeance earlier. That says mark an opposing hero. If that hero is Arakni, gain a resource. Well, there are 2 cards, 2 assassin attacks. There's Defang the Dragon and Extinguish the Flames, and they are our first stealth cards with contract printed on them, which is super exciting. That people have been asking for a long time, so it's really nice to get them. They're a little specific, say maybe for CC play, but it's still a step in the right direction. Um, but they're each 3 blocks, 0 for 3 attack actions. Um, they both have stealth, they both have contract, and Defang the Dragon says you're contracted to hit a marked hero named Fang. Whenever you do, or whenever you complete this contract, draw a card. And Extinguish the Flames is the same, except that the target, the marked hero you're supposed to hit is Syndra. These cards have to be good because they say draw a card on them, right? That's how Fab works. We can't have
Yeah,
books, but we
it's
can
not
have head
it's
jabs
not
that can
quite
draw.
win the game, but it's pretty close.
It is pretty close. It's pretty close. Um, so I think Proclaim Vengeance, Extinguish, and Defang. I think those are each they're going to be really important in their respect in this limited environment. I think they're probably going to be a little less important elsewhere, but interesting to see that sort of design space getting used. Um,
They might they might get played just because they're stealth contract cards.
that, that that is
Like,
very true. That
I
is
don't care what
very
the
true.
contract is. I just want to be able to buff my contract stuff,
Mm,
but also be playing stealth.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a very good point. Although I don't know if nah, it doesn't really get you anything though, because if you're never actually completing the contract, then the reason to buff it just isn't quite there. But whatever. That's future considerations.
That's
Um,
Arakni's problem.
yeah, that's our Acne Huntsman's issue. Um, 3 more seemingly majestic power level cards. Tarantula Toxin. Assassin attack reaction that blocks for 3, costs 0, choose one or both. Target dagger attack gets +3. Solid rate for a 0 cost. Uh, target card defending an attack with stealth gets -3 defense this turn. So it's sort of a hybrid shred with razor reflex. You forego the go again aspect, but now it's on a 3 block, and this card is just so versatile.
This,
Problematically versatile. Not problematically, but
yeah,
like card will see play. It just seems very strong.
it's potentially a um, +6 if
Uh,
your opponent is defending your dagger attack for 3 for some reason.
well, but your dagger has to have stealth to get both halves.
Yeah, there's some theories that there's going to be a stealth dagger.
Ooh. All right, I'm in. That sounds cool. That'd be pretty nasty. But I think this card is good enough that like I think this card probably sees play um in I mean could
New.
see play in Uzuri and new as well. Like people just willy nilly or like getting pushing a
If you
dagger
need the
through.
Mistblade to hit, then you can pump it up to 4.
Hmm.
Or if you need an extra reaction for your prognosis, or that one doesn't need extra reactions, bombs,
Mm,
um, then you can give whatever they're blocking with -3, and that also counts towards the reaction count.
yeah.
That's
Although
3 block.
I guess interestingly, if your opponent says no blocks on a bonds, this doesn't help you because you don't necessarily, or I guess you'd have to like buff the previous dagger and get no value for it. But whatever, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do
True.
if you're gonna bonds your opponent. But yeah, card has a lot of
Yeah.
potential, I think.
Also, watch out for blocking with temper equipment against stealth attacks now,
Yep,
even more
even
than
more true than it used to be.
yeah.
Um, so then we have Blood Runs Deep, a Draconic Ninja attack action. Costs 2, pitches for 1, has base of 2 attack and 3 defense. It says this costs 1 resource less to play for each Draconic chain link you control. Hey, we found a reason to be fealty, to do fealty things. When this attacks a hero, each dagger you control deals 1 damage to them. If damage is dealt this way, the dagger has hit, destroy the daggers. This is literally take all my swords and chuck them at your face.
Yeah. This card is the reason I think we might be getting ephemeral daggers. It's because it just making ephemeral daggers, and then um, this card seems like kind of relatively difficult to pull off. Um, but if you've got like 4 daggers out there, all of a sudden it's a good payoff. But you don't want to lose your your only daggers if that's not the way that it works. So
Yeah, true. I think this card makes me suspect that we'll see something better than Concealed Blade for re-equipping daggers, at least out of the ninja class. It seems like Syndra could end up as the cool. I'm the flick knives hero who's gonna I'm gonna flick knives you know 8 turns out of 12 in a game or something like that, right? If there's a way to re-equip pretty readily, which could be cool. Cool design space to play in at least. And maybe there's ephemeral daggers, but maybe there's also just like token daggers that aren't ephemeral, but you can play an attack that says if you have a free hand, put a dagger in it, kind of thing. So
yeah, I could do
lots
too.
lots of very interesting ways they could take this, but seems really cool regardless. And then bringing us home for uh, these spoilers, we've got one last one: Long Whisker Loyalty. Take it away, Alex.
All right. 0 cost, red card, Draconic Warrior attack reaction, blocks 3. First of all, I need to say that this might be my favorite border in the game, the Draconic Warrior border.
It's real
Um,
good.
but for each Draconic chain link you control, choose one. Target dagger attack gets +2. You may attack with target dagger an additional time this turn. The next time target dagger hits a hero this turn, mark them. Without having context of what the daggers look like, it's hard to evaluate this. It could be quite good, or it might just be like a medium. Um, maybe it's really good in a certain situation, kind of majestic.
Yeah,
But not knowing if we're going to be using Quicksilver daggers or if Fang is going to have his own like specific Draconic daggers makes it difficult to determine.
this one reads to
That's,
me like, or so it notably doesn't give go again, this particular reaction.
mhm.
And the whole thing with Quicksilver daggers is that one go again means all your daggers have go again for the turn. Um, and I don't know. This reads like oh, what's the Bolton reaction? It's the Lance, Divine Lance, or
Lumina Lance?
Lumina Lance. Oh, right, Divine Lance is a Pathfinder Second Edition cantrip. Lumina Lance, the Flesh and Blood card, Lumina Lance. Uh, that's like +2 to an attack, and you can give it on hit draw a card, but you spend soul for it, and we're always like, ooh, this card's pretty close to good, but it's like a little pricey, or like it should have been like choose one mode and then also banish soul to get extra modes or something like that. This reads like Draconic Warrior Lumina Lance to me, in how it'll sort of function. Um,
Yeah. The one thing I will say is that uh, my buddy Ian and I talk about Warrior all the time. Um, but what we're oftentimes lacking is on hits on our weapons as Warrior. Like obviously
Dory
conditional
aside.
ones. Like yeah, as Warrior, we want you to block a little bit. Enough where like we still get our damage through reactions, but enough that you like aren't keeping 5 cards to try to set back. So this letting us add a on hit to a dagger of being able to mark them. It'll depend on what cards be get affected by mark, but that could be either very significant or not matter at all. Just
It could go one of two ways. It
contextual.
could be
Yeah.
very significant or irrelevant. Uh, but yeah, so this first batch of hunted spoilers is sweet. Um, I know we could talk a lot more about them, even though we've already talked plenty about them. Uh, excited to see
Close to an
more.
hour.
I'm very intrigued by Syndra. I really want to know what the hell Chaos is. And honestly, I'm with you. I think the Draconic Warrior border, at the very least, I think it's the best looking Draconic class border. The like magma running through the blades on either side just looks fantastic. Pops just right. Um, but more happened in Osaka than just us finding out about the World Tour and Player of the Year and the Hunted. Turns out there was an entire event played. Go figure.
Multiple, actually.
Multiple events. That's true. Multiple events spread across 3 days. Um, I watched a decent chunk of coverage. I didn't get to see all of it because the reason that I wasn't in Osaka was I was in a friend's wedding, so I was obviously a little busy throughout the weekend. Uh, but I did go back and I think I watched all of day one coverage. I saw a couple matches in day two, and I didn't watch the full top eight given the timing, but I watched.
You didn't want to stay up till 4 a.m. local to watch it live?
No, I did not. But
Neither did I.
but I did make sure I got to at least see Mercy's quarterfinals match because I was like, I gotta watch this, gotta watch this happen. Um, so top eight composition was pretty strong. So the top eight for Worlds was Rob Catton, Gregors Kowalski, Alan Lau, Noah Bagelman, Michael Hamilton, yes, that Michael Hamilton, Sam Sutherland, Mercy Bickle, and Valentine Mackel. Um, the yeah, Michael Hamilton clearly took it to heart when James White called him out a little bit about focusing on this game. So he was just like, "All right, fine, I'll just top eight your worlds again.
Hold my dagger.
Hold
Let
my
me top eight
dagger.
this.
Count these blessings." Um, so the metagame breakdown, I didn't feel like it was particular. I guess there were two things on it that they weren't shocking, but like didn't land where my expectations were. Um, so there was 459 players in Worlds. Um, the top two most played decks were Enigma and Aurora, which I don't think would surprise most people. There were 78 Enigmas, 72 Auroras. The next section all came in pretty close. There was 53-IO, 53 New, 52 Visceri, and 44 Zen. Uh, I think the New came in higher than I anticipated, at least, but definitely seems like there was some innovations that I personally was not in touch with prior to the event, where I think people were running some Count Your Blessings New, uh, which just sounds like it did its job pretty well. If I'm not mistaken,
It gives
I
you
think that's what Hamilton was
the
on,
basics of the
right?
strategy is it gives you, yes, you're correct, and it gives you more time to banish their deck.
Oh, I guess that's fair. Just literally just more time
The,
to do your thing.
yeah,
Um,
and you can't always use all your cards because you don't have as many action points in Assassin as you do in other classes. So if they
mhm.
try to take a setup turn, then you can send your one disruptive attack and then also heal some.
Yeah. Uh, the next couple down were Florian with 23 and Azalea with 18. Victor with 11, KO with 8, and then everything else was 6 or fewer representatives in the event. Um, I think Florian coming in low surprised me a little bit. Admittedly, again, I think I mentioned this last time. I haven't been testing for Worlds because I wasn't going to Worlds, but that was my pick for what I probably would have brought. But it's also possible that you just can't quite, fit a uh, fit the version of Florian that can hang with Enigma, but also can hang with all the aggro decks in the same 80. That might just be a bit too challenging. Um, so I was a little surprised that felt low to me, and new felt higher than I was expecting. But um, I guess it tracks given my invested level in Worlds prep. Um, Shout out to the one Vincent that showed up for Worlds. That's two Worlds events that Vincent's been legal. Two different people have registered it. Neither of us made day two. My heart goes out to you, my friend. uh, Worlds conversion rate is actually pretty interesting though. Um, so obviously, when you have much smaller sample sizes, it's a lot easier to find some performance outliers. Uh, the hero leading conversion rate to day two for this Worlds event was none other than Acilio, who two of the three Acilio players made day two of the event, which is fun. Um, and then,
And Alexander Vor playing Acilio was on stream day two as well.
oh,
So if
really?
you want
Okay.
to
Yeah, that's one of the ones I missed.
watch an Acilio game,
That's sweet. I'm going to have to go back and check
yeah.
that out. Of the highly represented decks, uh, Dio led the charge at 49%, Aurora at 46, Azalea ended up at 44%, which is pretty good despite the uh, lower representation. Viserai and Nu tied at 38% apiece. Enigma was lagged a little bit behind at 36%, and then the worst the worst conversion rate of the most represented decks was actually Zen with 25%. Um, so only 11 of the 44 Zen pilots made day two, which is uh, a little surprising to me, honestly. But I'm not sure. I don't know. There's just so
Uh,
many different ways you
that
can
could
take
also
new Zen that.
that could be a draft diff as well. You got to keep in mind.
True. Yes, this is not a perfect representation of a deck's ability to day two a mono format event. If it was, I'm pretty sure Camel Creeth would be the world champion because I'm pretty sure he went 9-0 and constructed as one of two Bravo showstoppers in the entire event, and I think he did not lose a game of constructed the whole weekend. If that man ever learns to draft, look out, you're all screwed.
Yeah, I believe he was 1-5 in draft. So
Yep, that tracks. Ugh.
they just need to reprint Bravo in draft,
Or
and
he just needs to
if
go
you,
to the Mark Morrison School of Drafting, figure out what hero he's forcing, so that it's like, all right, well, even if the forcing works one time and I 3-3 draft, I'm still gonna make top 8 with my undefeated Bravo. But uh, yeah, nothing super shocking though on the outcome of like the meta as a whole for me. Was there anything that surprised you?
mm, I think the only thing that surprised me is that with Aurora and Dash and Viserai being known quantities and known that they were going to be top of the meta, that Enigma was still the most played hero. And maybe that, I mean, I have not been testing Enigma. Maybe there's a plan into the aggro decks that I'm not familiar with. Like, I know there's Essence of Ancestry Body that people were playing into Dio that prevents the next red damage source. Um, but with aggro decks at the top of the meta, you'd think that Enigma players might be more scared to play Enigma, but that's not the case. And she
Yeah,
won,
but
so
but even if those matchups are generally unfavored, they're so far from free. Like the existence of uh, traverse the universe into Mirror Guy, it just it's a
you mean to slamming your dragon and winning the game?
yeah. It's a little bit of a gut check or something, right? Like in in the Pro Quest that I won, I played the same Enigma twice that day. I played him in round two, played him in top four, and in round two they it was like I don't know, turn 4 or 5, and uh they used the helmet, chi, mirror guy. I put out a 20 something damage turn, and I'm able to clear it, despite a bit of protest. Uh, but their follow up was just natural chi in hand, second mirror guy, and that one took me 3 or 4 turn cycles to clear because the first time it was like I just I didn't have another 20 damage turn holstered immediately, so it survived the first little onslaught. And then the next turn they're like, cool, like dissolve reality, you lose your arsenal, phantasmaclasm, like make your hand just a little bit worse, right? They had the backup for it. And like one turn it was warmongers, one turn it was like here's hand and arsenal disruption, and God, falling behind there is just so incredibly punishing. And then the last time I thought I was going to try and kill it, they're like, Restless Coalescence, steal a counter off of it, turn that counter into a Spectral Shield, feed the Spectral Shield to your Condemned to Slaughter instead of killing either of these other two auras. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's good.
yeah, it puts a lot of onus on them, and if they brick one or two times after that mirror guy's hit the table, sometimes you just cannot come from back from that value deficit.
I think the so that was the World Championship, but the calling I guess looked a little bit closer to what I was expecting. Uh, calling day one, Aurora at 87 players, Enigma at 84 players, Viscera at 80 players, New at 58, Azalea at 45, Dash IO at 45, Zen at 45. Um, Ira, 21 players. First
Ira
first event.
top aided the first calling that she was legal in, which is really cool. Uh, Also, yeah, this distribution, the calling distribution looks more like what I expected the world's distribution to look like. But I think part of that is, I don't know, the tendency for the toppest of the top level players to pick things that they feel are more consistent in ways, right? Like Viscera being on par with Aurora and Enigma representation in the calling makes a lot of sense to me, and feels like sort of what the buzz and the hype going into Worlds kind of would imply to me. But at Worlds, you know, Viscera was 20 to 30 representation lower than the other two. Um, but it could just be of the avoidance of adding extra variance into your tournament that you can't always can't control.
Yeah.
But
So the top eight of the calling was Aurora, Ira, Zen, Azalea, New, Enigma, Dash IO, and another New. So with the exception of the news, almost eight different heroes.
yeah,
Um,
that's incredible. It's very encouraging to see.
and the one Zen ended up taking it out as well. So maybe it was a draft difference for Zen and Worlds. But also there's only one copy in the top eight. Well,
Fair. I guess you know
one
what there
member.
was somebody going around. I think it was Golden Gomez on Blue Sky / Twitter that they were compiling. They were working to figure out who was playing what at the event, so they could actually compile hero win rates like into each other, and then just overall for the event. That would be a. I might look into that later, but that could tell the story of if it's draft diff or if CC just didn't pan out like they expected. Um, but yeah, congrats to Nikola Kremerick for winning the calling on Zen, which is sweet. Um, only yeah, no Viscera in the top eight. Florian representation was higher in the calling, but still didn't pull off the top eight there either. Might just be, I don't know, a touch too fair, touch too honest in what he's doing to
It might
convert.
take too long to get online versus Aurora, and then Enigma can also just kind of snowball you if you don't have the
Yeah, yeah. Like
stuff at
I
the right
think you
time.
can fix the Enigma matchup. I just yeah, as always, it's like I don't know that you can fix the Enigma matchup and still have the deck that hangs with three or four different flavors of aggro deck, and you know still just beats up like New and Azalea and other random stuff too. It's just
Yeah.
a little too far to stretch an 80.
All right. And then your format.
My favorite Battle Hardened living legend format, as has become customary at Pro Tours ever since the inception last year at Barcelona. Um, 80 players came out for this event. I think they had capped it at 120, and they might have to figure something out for these battle hardens because battle hardened events with like 8 rounds of Swiss and untimed top eights that are constructed length formats, everyone just keeps getting kicked out of the event center. It just they're always shutting it down, and I don't know. Like it's almost like there there was a time in the history of Magic where they're like, wow, this Grand Prix is too big. We're gonna have 2 Grand Prix, and they just literally executed 2 Grands Prix in parallel and had all the same pricing and outcome and everything. And I I don't know. I've heard stories of people getting kicked out for these top eight and finals matches enough times now that I wonder if they institute a sort of like imagine if every Battle Hardened on a Pro Tour weekend was a 64 player cap, and then they take all the pool of entrants and they split it almost like kind of like how they split draft pods, and then they're like, great, we have 120 people, awesome. There's two 60 player Battle Hardens this weekend, and then just run them in parallel so they don't have to, um, just run way too late.
That could be an option.
Uh, but more importantly, and something that I think this happened at the last. Oh, now I'm doubting myself. I forget what the Amsterdam Living Legend Battle Hardened top eight looked like, but this top eight had 8 unique heroes, um, some new and some old faces. But it had Viserai, Kano, Aurora, Dio. Dio was the big surprise for me in this top eight. Uh, Starvo, Briar, Oldhim, and Chain.
The one of Oldhim at the event. One person brought Oldhim, and they made it all the way to the finals
Yeah.
for getting blown up by Kano. Turns
Actually,
out
well, I actually heard
anybody can get it.
I heard that there was that was part of the weirdness though, that they were about to get kicked out of the convention center, and that the Oldham knew that the Kano is Pete Bedensik, very renowned Kano player. I think has multiple battle hardened wins at this point. They knew that
His
the
one
Kano
one win
opponent
of
could
every
stack them.
format
Oh,
with
is it
Kano.
really? Oh, that's really
Blitz,
cool.
constructed, and Living Legend.
The Kano Triple Crown. That's dope. Uh, but yeah, I think that Oldham was just like, are you gonna stack me, or like just kind of knew that it's a game that they would lose because the Kano player knew how to win the match despite
Do you
count
know
your
how to pitch
blessings
stack?
or whatever
Yes, I
else.
do.
Yep,
Okay, good game.
great. Let's all leave.
Let's leave.
Um, Representation wise though, nothing super shocking here, particularly with the influx of new Earth and Lightning cards. Not to mention some of the expansion slot things. Um, Starvo and Briar tied for most represented with 11 players apiece. Then there was Chain with 9, Kano with 8, Lexi with 7, Aurora, OG Prism, and Viserai each with 6, and then New Prism with 5 players in the event. And then there was 4 Dio, 3 Icelander, 2 Azalea, 2 KO, 2 Zen, 1 Fi, and 1 Oldhim. So pretty diverse spread. Obviously, we're a little more concentrated on Starvo, Briar, and Chain, but this is Living Legend format. What do you think you signed up for?
Well, and
Uh,
also the last set gave us Lightning cards, which Bravo can play. Earth cards, which Bravo can play. Um, Lightning cards, which Briar can play. Earth cards, which Briar can play. Runeblade cards, which Briar can play. Runeblade cards, which Chain can play. Wizard cards, which Kano can play. Lightning cards, which Lexi can play. Lightning cards, which Aurora can play.
it's almost like there's a pattern.
Yeah,
Maybe we
almost.
can find it. Maybe. I think like the prisms are the only deck that didn't really get any explicitly new toys of the top 9 most represented heroes. But
Prism gets Luminars. That's all they need.
yeah, right. They're like, we don't need anything else. Everything has Go again. It's fine. It's fine. Um, but yeah, no, seems like a healthy healthy spread of heroes. Uh, it's tough to ask for a cooler looking top eight than eight different heroes in it. I'm sure there were some multiples there if you stretch it out to top 16, but um, yeah, I don't think the sky is falling on this format. I was a little concerned for a bit because there's some real juice in Rosetta for this format. Make no mistake, but um, there's no more. The benchmark for oh no, LL's really broken again is just like one hero sweeping it again, right? Like,
Kevin, when everything's broken, nothing's broken.
so true, so true. Uh, Kano has like access to 15 tomes in the format now. The old tomes that he already played, and then the
Also,
new.
zap the draw cards. I
Yeah,
guess they're technically not zaps because they cost two, but you know what I
there's
mean.
app tomes. It's kind of both. Which honestly, I would guess I don't know. In some situations, it's definitely better. But yeah, I unfortunately none of these games were cast, so we didn't get to see it. But you know, I am excited for Chicago with the current state of things. I would be very surprised if they even. I don't think they'll unless they have something on their radar that was not super apparent at this event. I don't think they'll touch anything before the event. So this is probably just going to be what the Columbus Battle Harden and the Calling Chicago end up looking like format wise.
Um, yeah, that's the only thing that changes is we get the Jarl Origins deck. But from what we've seen
True.
so far, I don't know if that like super juices any of the LL heroes.
I mean, it's just there's another ice 3 block for Starvo to play, and I think that's just kind of it so far. That's
Okay.
not the kind of change for the LO format that's gonna tip the
Yeah.
scales unreasonably.
It's a long episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out.
uh, yeah, we appreciate you. Oh, on that note, thanks to everyone who has been subscribing. We hit 400 subscribers, which is a nice threshold to hit. We'll see if we can bump that all the way up to 500 before the year ends. Today's episode 24. I think we're a few episodes away from like our official 1 year of IP3 mark. I think episode 27 is sort of going to be our anniversary episode plus our sort of like year end wrap episode. So if you're enjoying it, hit subscribe. It'd be cool. Really nice to hit.
Share it with a friend.
Yeah, or don't. Do what you want.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't care. We're gonna keep making stuff because it's fun.
yep. Do it for
I
free.
have a I have a I have a rant about Count Your Blessings. Not in a bad way, just like a lot of thoughts on it, but I will not have it here. Maybe I'll type it out on Blue Sky, or maybe I'll save it for a different podcast. But not bad, just factual. Like here's what the reality of the situation is. But for another time, little tease for you.
I I don't know. I just maybe I haven't lost to it enough to have a strong opinion on it yet. Maybe it's just because the decks I play tend to be aggressive that it tends to not feel like it's a problem from the seat that I usually find myself. But
I,
I don't
I don't
know.
think it's a problem. I think the end of my rant is going to be LSS is going to make the game that they want to make. If they want it to be a strategy that they want people to like have a counter for or think about, then they'll leave it in.
Yeah,
If they didn't like the way that games went this weekend with two decks with Count Your Blessings like in the top eight, and I'm sure there was more running around the event, then they'll do something about it. But in LSS we trust.
yep. They'll get it figured out. I actually, I think so. So I think the card was printed the way it was because, like, for limited as an arc, like the base values make sense where they are. But I think if they had been looking more at the constructed implications for the card, I think there's a universe where it's like, oh, okay, well the red one gives you 2, the yellow gives you 1, and the blue gives you 0, but buffed by the number of other count your blessings you have. So they just like shave 9 points off the top of that whole thing, make it a little, or at least make the window a little bit bigger to get them dead before they get the full value off of it. But shoulda, woulda, coulda. Doesn't really matter.
Mm.
Um, Interested to see what. Oh, they basically all but confirmed High Octane is gone. Uh, from my understanding, that's
And I think Brian said on the stream, Sam Sutherland had a 27-minute 80 damage turn, something like that.
yeah.
Um, and he said if we were on the fence about it, this game that has now been publicized has pushed it over the top. So sorry, all you mech fans.
uh,
But
but they'll make new. They'll find new ways to, you know. Belittle got hit, and there's few new versions of that. Plunder Run got banned. There's new riffs on card draw and everything like that. It's uh, they're learning, and they'll keep making the game better as best as they can.
yep,
Um, Anything else before we wrap it?
I'm good.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thanks for hanging out. This is sort of a, three topic ramble so this time. So thanks for hanging out as always. Appreciate the comments. Alex will be doing a Verdance deck tech that is in progress, but not quite
It,
sure when it's gonna get
it
released.
it's typed out and ready. I just need to have time to record it. So we'll see when that happens, but it'll arrive on your feed at some point. So subscribe or don't.
Subscribe for Verdance deck techs. Yeah, and if there's other stuff you want to see, other and different deck techs, or any topics you want covered, anything like that, please feel free to shoot us a message or comment on the video, whatever works best for you. But, yeah, as always, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next time.